Let's learn some number line basics. So these are the 3 rules to remember when you are starting to set up your own number line where they do not give you the tick marks and you have to establish your information on there. Okay, so step 1 is to figure out your endpoints. Okay, you have to figure out what are your endpoints going to be. So you're asking yourself, how far do you need to go on either side? So basically how far those numbers would go as far as big or small, and do you need 0, right? If you have positive and negative numbers, you're going to have 0 in the middle to make that comparison. If you don't, then you don't necessarily have to have 0 on there, okay? So when we're thinking those endpoints, it's a good visual for you. So if we're asking if we need 0, how far on either side do we need to go, all that kind of stuff, and that's going to just be based off the numbers you have, okay? Step 2 is your scale. Okay, we need to know what are we counting by. So what do we need to count by? Because we don't always have to count by 1s. Sometimes 2s or 3s or 5s or 10s is helpful. Or sometimes going smaller, counting by halves or fourths could be helpful. It just depends on your numbers. So here's an example of our tick marks, and we're just counting by 1s, but there might be times where we want to count by something else, and we'll try an example like that in a moment. And then this third step, so important, you must have a dot and label. Here's what I mean by that. So we got our same number line here. Let's say I was going to plot, right? So plot means dot. -2, I would put a dot right on the number line where -2 is, and then I have to label above it as well, because down here is simply my scale. The top numbers is what tells me what numbers did you actually plot. It makes it very easy when you're trying to figure out, okay, where are the numbers? Are they in the right place? You look up there. So the bottom is the scale. That's what you saw with this visual over here. And the top with the dot and label is how we actually know what numbers we actually plotted, okay? So make sure you get these visuals down as well as the words. I know it might be a lot. You can pause your video if needed, but otherwise let's try an example, okay? And I kept these notes right here for you, so if you still need to jot them down, feel free. But let's go ahead and give them a try with plotting the following numbers on the number line. So we have 18, -7, 4, -12, 10, -20. Well, I said positives and negatives, so I know for sure I'm going to have 0 in the middle. Now bear with me while I get these tick marks set up. Just one sec. This isn't working. One moment. Alright, sorry about that. I had to get that figured out. But yes, we did determine we needed 0 on here because I have both positive and negative numbers. And I already put a tick mark here for my endpoints. So we need to look at our numbers and see how far away from 0 are we going. Well, the farthest number away from 0, not the biggest number, but the farthest from 0 is -20. So if that's how far I have to go on one side, then that's also how far I have to go on the other side. Because if you look, now I know I didn't put this perfect, but these tick marks, these end points, are the same distance from 0. So if I'm saying that this tick mark has to be -20 because that's the farthest I have to go, then the other side also has to be the opposite of that, right? So that's the same distance away from 0, keeping it consistent. We can't just put numbers wherever we want. I can't say that this distance is only 10 while this distance, which is the same distance, is -20. That doesn't make sense, right? It has to represent the same distance accurately, okay? So 20 and -20 are our endpoints. Well, I don't really want to have to count by 1s on this one. I would like to count by 5s probably. So what I like to do personally is find the middle, and so between 0 and 20 would be 10. And so you could just do that. You could count by 10s if you want, and then I would do the same thing. If I can get, there we go. On the other side, so -10, right? Because whatever I do to one side, I have to do the other, keep it consistent. You could just count by 10s, but there's a lot of numbers in between that. So I personally wanted to count by 5s. So I'm going to put 5 and 15 on here as well. And again, if I do it to one side, I have to do it to the other. Make sure you're getting your number line set up just like mine. Can't find the tick mark. There we go. Okay. So I chose to count by 5s. That seemed to make the most sense to me because it narrowed down some of the spaces without it being a ton of tick marks, okay? So that's what I chose to count by. It may be 1s, it might be halves, it might be 2s, it just depends on your numbers. So I chose to count by 5s to go along with these. So now I've done the endpoints, we've done the scale, now we just need to dot and label. This is honestly, once you do step 1 and 2, Step 3 isn't too bad for the most part because you kind of know where the numbers go for overall. Okay, so we're going to do 18, and so I know that's going to be between 15 and 20, slightly closer to 20, so I'm putting my dot and label for that one. Okay, and by the way, if you'd like to pause the video at this point and try these on your own and then check with me, you're more than welcome to. Or if you want to do them with me, that's fine too. You decide. Okay, so I have -7. Obviously, that's going to be to the left of 0. And that's going to be between -5 and -10. You see how this kind of mirrored each other when I counted? You can use our number line up on the wall to help you with that too if you're struggling with that. But it always mirrors from 0, right, with the positive and negative side. Anywho, so -7, going to be about in the middle of -5 and -10. So I put my dot and label. Got to have both. Okay, notice my scale's on the bottom. Labels are on top. 4 is going to be pretty close to 5. Okay, a little bit closer to that, between 0 and 5. Dot and label. -12, that's going to be between -15 and -10. So I'm going to have my dot just maybe a little closer to -10, but right about the middle. Okay, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to show that you know where that number should go. Okay, and again, dot and label. 10, that's super easy now that we have our scale. We just put it right on 10. And same with -20. That one's super simple because we already have that as one of our endpoints. So do you see how easy it is for me to see these numbers that I plotted? I don't have to keep them mixed up with the scale. So we always want a dot and a label so we can see. Especially because if one of the questions asked you to list them from smallest to greatest or greatest to smallest, something like that, now you can do that so easily because you would either just go from left to right or right to left and they're right there, okay? So you do, oh, we have one more question to answer first. How would our number line look differently if it was vertical instead of horizontal? So right now, horizontal, right, we have the positive numbers going to the right of 0, negative numbers going to the left. But what if I drew this on a vertical number line, so up and down? Well, here's what the only difference would be. All the numbers would be placed in the exact same spot. You could use the same scale, same endpoints. The only difference is now the positive numbers would be going up instead of to the right. Right, so right now they're going to the right of 0. Well, if it's vertical, that means they're going to go up from 0. And the negative numbers would go down instead of to the left. So we literally just take this and rotate it where the positives are going up and negatives are going down. That's the only difference, okay? So you do have a quick check to go grab. Please do that and get a teacher signature on it. Good luck.